Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to go into game number 1 right now between Empire and Rain. Let's go ahead and check it out. So the map is going to be Ohanari and Sheth. We're about to witness Beastie QT up against Nori.
Indeed.
So I know you are a Zerg player, you're a resident Zerg expert, but you know, I want to ask you a little bit about TVP because I'm sure you've watched matches in it quite a bit. I mean, do you have any experience with either of these players and their playstyles?
Yeah, I've played with both of them quite a bit. I think Beastie Cutie is one of the very underrated Terrans of Europe. And Nori is also a very, very strong Protoss player. However, I actually think that Beastie Cutie will actually do really well this game. I think he's on fire right now. And Nori, while being very, very good, I haven't heard much or played with him lately, so I just don't know. All I know is that Beastie right now is at a very, very high level, and I really want to see how he plays.
Yeah, it kind of stinks because Beastie Cutie definitely, I think if he was on another team, he would get a lot more spotlight. But, you know, he has teammates like Koss, like Happy, that just overshadow him a little bit just because they have amazing results. BCQD also has really good results. It's just, you know, when you're on a team with Koss and Happy, it's just absolutely insane. And it can be really, really difficult to actually get the spotlight. Similar to, you know, I almost want to see like Evil Geniuses with, I guess, Huck and JYP or you know, maybe LZ Gamer and Idra, stuff like that. You have good players, but there's just this spotlight player that's taking all the attention.
You bet. And we'll see how it works out. He's almost gonna lose that supply depot. That was close for a little bit. Little probe just doing work. I like it.
And you know what, we might have first blood here. That might take down the SCV, only 3 more hits and it will go down, so you need to be so careful. But I think BCQD is smart enough to not lose that. Thankfully for him, the SCV didn't act like an idiot.
Didn't just run right into it.
Dude, you don't know how many times that happened in StarCraft 1 where it was like, please go to the other freaking side, you idiot. And it just would not do that. 20 Nexus. Is down for
and he sees it. He knows it's coming. It's really interesting. I think it's going to give him... Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what's really interesting about this, he did this before Cybernetics Core went down.
Yeah, it's very different.
But what were you saying, Sheth?
Oh, I think it's just going to give Beastie Cutie the space to macro that he needs. I think both players are happy going into just a longer game here. There is two entrances into this expansion, so this could be really good for the Terran, I think. Or the Protoss, whoever decides to actually push forward. I think more the Terran, where you could flank from the lower line and do a drop in the main. I think that'd be very strong. What do you think?
It definitely has its strengths. I think towards that mid-game stage, it'll actually help Terran a lot, just because they can blow it down, as you were saying. And then it just gives them another point to actually harass. I don't think it'll be too strong in the beginning stage, so I think sentries are way too good. For Protoss, so they'll be able to stop any pushes. The only thing that it might empower, I think, is Protoss all-ins. I think Protoss all-ins are much stronger on a map like Ohana, where you can blow down those rocks, and then all of a sudden they don't have great bunker positioning. So that might either mean they have to make more bunkers, or they have to get a crap load of units, which messes up their tech.
Alright, and Beastie's going for a 3 racks sort of thing with 2 gas. I feel like this is just going to lead into tech with kind of like stim, maybe getting a factory with stim. Something like that would be my guess. And the Protoss here is going for 3 gate. Seems like both of them are just doing very standard opening builds on this map. If you had to choose, who would you say this map favors?
You know, it's very difficult to call. I think slightly Terran, but it's not by that much. The reason why I say that is because Protoss do have good pushes. They can deny forts pretty nicely if they take your opponent's Zelnaga tower, so it really helps itself with that balling type of army. But it's not too big. Like, it's a pretty skinny map, so Terran can't really like just, you know, play like that Tal'Darim style where they just defend and just do that all-out defense type of deal. Like, they can't just use their mobility to work around your opponent's huge ball or the Protoss big ball. So I think, you know, it's going to be a big testament to each of these players' ability to position and move their particular armies if they want to actually play this right.
Okay.
How about you? How do you think TVP works out in this particular map?
It's gonna be interesting. There's a cool build I've seen recently, something MC did and a few other Protoss have done, that I think would be really strong in this map. It's basically you get 3 Immortals after this first Observer, and proceed to just attack with a very, very Sentry Immortal Zealot, basically heavy army, and like it just does things I wouldn't think possible, put simply, right?
Yeah.
It's just so strong. I guess that's not the case though, because he's giving 2 Observers. You wouldn't really need 2 Observers for this style of play, so, and then of course Twilight Council as well. So here it looks like he's going into Storm, and the Terran here, getting a fairly quick +1, getting that tech for dropship with Stim, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of harass once he gets those 2 medevacs out, maybe trying to just poke in and see what he can see. And the Protoss just wants to hold that without losing anything and get into that Storm tech, I would assume.
It is kind
or
of,
double upgrades.
It could be any of those. We're not really seeing that just yet. I think what he's doing is actually playing Inori, that is. He's playing like pretty hard defense against some sort of medevac pressure. That's why we see the mass gateways. What he's trying to do is just play the metagame style, and then he's trying to look for a nice little advantage, picking off 2 medevacs off of, you know, an unsuspecting blink, because normally this is the time where if you're going blink stalkers, you can die to an all-in, like a 3, 4, 5 racks, something like that, with just straight up into the main or into the natural. You can die very, very easily. But Inori, looking for, you know, just this little edge, he's looking to probably pick off these 2 initial medevacs, and then from there he can, you know, obviously take his 3rd, which he's doing right now, and he'll have a slight advantage in this mid game, which normally Protoss don't have.
Gotcha, that makes sense. I like it. And he's going for that double forge upgrade. Will be interesting to see if or when Beastie pushes out, which I guess is now, and he's just about done with combat shields actually. So this is going to be a really nice timing. It's going to hit just about perfect, and I think the question is going to be if Ignori can hold it. Even with that blink, this might be tough. There are quite a few Marauders, like 5 right now.
Ooh,
might catch those medevacs though.
Be very careful. There's the big blink, and he takes out one of them. That's actually very important. Because killing that medevac, it actually messes up a lot of map control, and it empowers those sentries. And empowering the sentries, obviously, like, now you can force field and you don't have to worry about your opponents actually, you know, getting out of there with the medevacs.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good, I would say, for Nori. He also has that Immortal there, which helps deal with those. So yeah, definitely really, really impressed with Nori's play here. It looks good, man. I like it. He's making, not necessarily, like, showing Beastie Cutie up here, but definitely showing that he can play at that level, playing very, very good at that level, just playing a very good macro game, if I had to say so.
Yeah, and it's interesting because normally Terran do have a big advantage at this stage. I was saying that before, and it's mainly because of the upgrades. We can see a 1-0 upgrade for Terran, 0-0, 1-1 on the way for Protoss, but it's still quite a ways away. Losing that 1 medevac obviously just destroys a lot of that mobility, a lot of that map control that he should be having. Right now, all of these Marines and Marauders, they're much better suited on his opponent's side of the map. That gives you the ability to take your 3rd a lot safer and see exactly what your opponent is doing. That's not what we see right now, and it might come to hurt BCQD a lot. Not so much like we can see that you see the builds really aren't deviating too much from regular standard play, but it's more so the decisions later on, whether you should go mass ghosts or get Vikings, things like that is really, really difficult.
Okay, that makes sense. I like it. I like it a lot. Our Terran player has a good spread on his SUVs. So he has one over the amount you really wanted each expansion, but that's not a huge deal, and then he's kind of missing a few at the 3rd. But that's all good. From right here, what do you think's where do you think they should go from here? I really like Inori staying on the gateway personally. What do you think?
I think Inori, what his plan right now is just to wait until he can get his 2-2. I think 2-2 is probably one of the most important things. That's when normally upgrades stabilize, if anything, because of Chrono Boost mechanics, they will be ahead in that respect. So he waits for 2-2, just stays defensive, and then pushes out with something like, you know, Mass Zealot, Stalker, Sentry, and then High Templars. I would love High Templars in this army composition.
Well, he's getting the Templar Archives. Check out the dropship right now, though. It's unloaded, but the observer sees it. This is pretty cool play. I like it. I like it a lot.
And of course, it's not going to do too much. Ooh, actually, the medevac doesn't look too good for it.
No, it's going to die.
Ooh, down.
That one Marine's trying to save him.
He gets split in half, that one. No bueno. But I love Inori. Like, he has these little tiny things that I really, really like. You can see cannons just placed all over the place. And obviously, that's to protect him against any sort of these drops, or at least give him time to get his units there so that the Marines and Marauders just don't start blasting away at, let's say, the Nexus or the simulators or the Robo, the gateways, these more important buildings. So I do like those little tiny things. For now, we do see Vikings out on the field. It will be able to, well, it might not be enough to counter the 2 Colossus that's incoming right now in production, but I like Inori's composition. I think it's just a little bit of everything, and right now it forces Terran to get a little bit of everything. But really, these PvT battles, it really goes to if Terran can get the appropriate army composition and then counter it effectively.
I see. Okay. Well, I really like I really like what the Protoss has been doing here with the observers. I think it reminds me kind of a lot of Brood War, just where you wanted all that vision. And it was so important just to know exactly where everything was. So I'm really impressed with that, to be honest. And just like you said, his army composition is pretty neat. A lot of Templar, 1 Immortal, a lot of Colossus. He has charge, he has 2/2 upgrades. I think 3/3 is probably the next logical step for him to get. And take that 4th, I like it. He has 67 pros, 67 SUVs. It almost seems like they both think that's the perfect number to get, which is pretty interesting, I think.
Now, this is a little bit of a weird push out right now. He doesn't actually have any indication to know that this is a advantageous push out, especially with the Viking count. But, you know, based on what Inori has gone right now, there's a lot. Oh, no. Oh, no, Ghost. Every single one of them's going to be. Oh, my God. Actually, every single one but one.
God.
Oh, God.
Is that GG? Like, is that a GG moment? I'm unsure personally.
That is really, really close to a GG moment. I think, you know, it's tough to call, especially these battles, but now that there are Archons out in the field, with no great way to actually counter them, the upgrade advantage doesn't really go to either of the players. They're even right now. I think we will be seeing a very successful attack for Protoss. And in terms of gas, in terms of gas, it's going to go heavily in favor to Inori, just because obviously the gas count in this particular army for the Terran isn't that big.
Okay, and he's out of EMPs. This engagement cannot favor the Terran. I don't see how it can, at least, but I don't know. I've been wrong many times before, and he's putting the micro in.
Yeah. It's very similar to StarCraft 1S right now, but so many storms actually going over the Marines and Marauders. That's not what you want to have happen. But I love this. Inori has kept all of his gas in his army. I mean, a lot of it. I shouldn't say all, but he basically pushed out until all of his zealots were dead and then just retreated. And now instead of actually replenishing all of your supply with just, you know, Stalkers, with Sentries, with Archons, with Colossus, you just need to add on the Zealots and maybe High Templars. Zealots and then maybe Colossus, and just get those power-hitting units that can do a lot more damage for you.
What should Terran be doing better to avoid this, do you think, personally?
Well, obviously that Ghost Control definitely killed him at this point. He needs to turtle up a lot more. Right now, all he can do is bunker up like crazy and then hope for another good engagement, because right now, if he continues on like this and just tries to play and get his expansions, I don't think he's in a position where he can win any of these fights straight up, army composition versus army composition.
Okay, he has 1 Ghost, perhaps planning on nuking, I'm unsure. He's on Hold Fire, has Cloak. Oh, yeah, there's a nuke going down, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yep, will Inori actually see it? That's going to be the big question. This third, it's not good that he's actually red colored either.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to find.
There it goes. Thankfully, 2 probes, they were mining gas. They're like,
where are my friends?
They pop out, they're like, what the hell just happened, guys?
Those poor probes, they've got a story to tell. Like, what's their thought here, man? That's crazy. Like, we lived through a nuclear explosion. Oh man.
But right now, it's to the point where the Archon count is just getting insane. I don't really think he's in a position where he has enough ghosts to actually deal with this. Ghosts are a great way to actually deal with mass Archons, just because obviously they're all shield, so it's the highest damaging spell you can possibly get. That burst damage, I should say.
Wow, a second nuke. That's pretty interesting. Or at least it's being launched. I can't actually tell where, to be honest. Do you see where it is? Do you know where it is?
No.
Maybe towards the army. Maybe it died.
Could have.
I'm sure we'll figure it out at some point.
Well, nothing just yet. Let's go ahead and look at the units. Have 8 ghosts out in the field. Unfortunately, I don't think that's anywhere near enough. But he needs like beautiful EMPs if he wants to engage right here. He is at 187 supply. You're going to see a Cloak has been engaged, and the Colossus are actually getting shot very nicely, but not really a lot of good EMPs go up. There's still a lot of high Templars in this army composition, and look at that. All the Marines and Marauders are just going to get walloped immediately. They just die so fast to all of the AoE, but somehow or another, this Terran has been able to come out on top. I don't know how that happened, Sheth. That is absolutely insane to me.
I'm confused. I don't know.
You know, there were... Oh, well, there he goes. BC Cutie is going to GG out of there. So I called that battle all wrong, Sheth, but a really weird final engagement, I thought. I don't know. I mean, like, it was a really weird time to GG out of the game.
It made sense if he thought the Protoss army was a lot bigger. Surprisingly, the nuke did a lot of damage, and the Protoss never really recovered at home from that, I don't think. So I think the Terran had a chance. He was 30 supply ahead, had more minerals, had more army, but sometimes it's just that psychological aspect of always in the defense.
For sure.
Losing your expansions, losing your commanders left and right, and it's just sometimes tough to overcome that.
You know, one thing, I mean, Protoss was on, let me count it real quick, 5 bases. Of those 5 bases, 3 of them were mining minerals, and then, of course, he had his natural still mining gas. I think his main still mining gas, so maybe some, you know, huge amount of gas. He could have gotten a lot of high Templars that way, but he didn't have a lot of probes. We checked it a little bit. He didn't have a lot of probes because of that one nuke. So I think Terran at that point, BC Cutie might have GG'd prematurely. It's really, really tough to say. I think that last battle was played out kind of, well, I think it was played incorrect by the Protoss player. The little tiny narrow chokes that he was going into, I still thought he had like a huge advantage and didn't even matter, but it turned out it did matter just because Terran's EMPs were a lot better than I thought at the time. But still,
no storm either.
If he fights at the open areas, it helps out with dealing with the EMPs a lot more. When he's all clumped up in a little area, the EMPs are the most beautiful things in the world. So that's a little tidbit about that particular battle. But overall, I felt like, yeah, BC Cutie, I'm not saying he was ahead or behind. Maybe slightly behind or even or something like that. But it was definitely weird of him to GG at that point.
I agree.
Sorry, Sheth. Weird throw right there, but we're actually going to go into game number 2 between Rain and Team Empire. So everybody stay tuned. Game 2 with Rain up 1-0. About to start after this break.